A couple years ago, on my way up to the San Francisco Bay Area for a conference, I almost did something that every pilot dreads, which is I almost landed the airplane with the wheels up. And not only me, but sitting right next to me in the cockpit was another fully qualified pilot in that airplane, and he missed it as well. And at least part of the reason why we missed it was due to something I call warning fatigue or notification fatigue. And before I finish the flying story, that occurs when all of the lights and bells and whistles on the instrument panel are going off. And so your brain, which is trying to focus on the most important thing, shuts off all the inputs. And in the process of doing that, you miss the one critical piece of information you should have caught, which in our case was the landing gear warning. We do the same thing here on our devices. We get inundated with text messages and notifications and pop-ups from apps. And so we just kind of shut it all off. We miss the one that was really important. So in the case of the airplane, what actually happened was we had been in a near mid-air collision shortly before the landing. Another pilot violated his clearance, flew across right in front of us, and we got lights and warnings and buzzers. We pulled up. You know, air traffic control was yelling the whole thing. I retracted the landing gear, and then we just didn't. We extended. 92 Sierra X-ray.
92 Sierra X-ray, LA Center, Mr. Check in, say altitude.
Yeah, level 9.5 2 Sierra X-ray. So in any case,
who was that checking in?
Southwest 599, 28-1.
What happened was,
with,
I did manage to check the landing gear before we obviously got on the runway and put the landing gear down, and so all's well that ends well. But it was an important lesson in notification fatigue, and that's sort of the first problem living in a modern connected world with all kinds of devices talking to us. The second problem is a complacency issue. It's actually the opposite. It's when we become so dependent on those notifications that we fail to observe the big picture. And again, it happens in our business, happens in the airplane. There's actually been guys that have flown airplanes into mountains, not looking outside, expecting the notification to pop up, and it never did. I'll show you an example here in a second of what it looks like when you fly towards a mountain and the pop-up notification here.
Terrain, pull up, pull up. Pull up.
But that second problem is just as problematic as the first, and there's two ways that I deal with these things. The first is when it comes to both my airplane and my business life on the device, I've reduced the notifications to those that are essential, or as we say in aviation, the things that can kill you. In terms of dealing with the second problem, complacency, what I've done is I require myself, I've developed a discipline, where I require myself to take an action based on a notification. I don't just allow the notification to go by. So in the airplane, for example, every 30 minutes, it pops up a notification saying to check the fuel tank. And I not only tap the notification, I also tap the fuel quantity gauges and the fuel tank selector. So if I have to take an action like switching the tank, my hand is right there. And it forces me to think beyond the notification to the actual action. So those are two disciplines, reducing notifications and forcing myself to act on them, that have really helped me in business and in aviation. Obviously, you've heard my story on what happened when we went up to the Bay Area and almost landed that airplane wheels up. And I'd love to hear yours about notification fatigue or warning fatigue, and also about how you avoid becoming complacent. Thanks a lot, and of course, as always, I'll get back to you as soon as I can on your comments.